Hey, we are here for round one of Steel Stompy against Season of Mists. We don't know who we're up against. This is a good hand. It's got City of Traitors, some fast mana, turn 1 Thorn of Amethyst, or a turn 1 Steel Overseer and Vault Skirge if it looks like our opponent is not on a deck where Thorn of Amethyst will be good. So we'll keep either way. Our opponent's mulliganing to 6. And they stop at 6, put one card on the bottom. Watergrave, it's the Death Shadow, is what we're up against. And a turn 1 Delver. So with this sort of situation, we've got two choices. We can either go all out. I think we're first going to Thorn, because it will increase the likelihood that our creatures stick around. Also, if we stick a Thorn, we can also play the Vault Skirge this turn. We could also play the Steel Overseer, but actually it's guaranteed to resolve. Let's do that. Let's first tap the Mox Opal, then sacrifice this, play a Steel Overseer. And the next turn we can play Vault Skirge and Walking Ballista, pump them both. Assuming that our Steel Overseer survives and that we don't get Wastelanded, which are both big asks. But fortunately, due to a Thorn of Amethyst, both things happening are not particularly likely. The best case scenario here is that our opponent plays another land and then cantrips, because that means that we'll be able to enact our game plan with a greater chance of success. Fatal Push, okay. Poor little Steel Overseer there was not long for this world. So we're not going to play the Karakas because it actually puts us down mana. We first need to play the Walking Ballista so that we have 3 artifacts for Metalcraft for the Mox Opal. We're going to do this now because if the Delver triggers and flips, we would have liked to do it earlier. It's really too bad that our Steel Overseer died, but what you going to do? At least we have a board advantage at this point. Wasteland's coming down on the City of Traitors. Makes us very glad that we held the Karakas. We still have 2 mana available to ourselves. Reanimate Delver, okay. So now we cannot play Chalice on 1 due to the Thorn of Amethyst. So our play is going to be to play the Ballista, shoot down the Delver, and crash in for 1 with this Vault Skirge. It's worth noting our opponent's life total here. 13, they can play a 0/0 Death Shadow. Any lower than this and they can start actually resolving it. But as you see now, they had a fetch land. They could have fetched another shock, which they did anyway. So Death Shadow is happening whether I wanted it to or not. That's unfortunate. I would have really liked this Steel Overseer to still be around. And now unfortunately there's not much we can do. So if I attack with Vault Skirge, the Death Shadow will hit for that extra damage. I need to weigh right now whether or not that's something I want to have happen. I don't think. So because it will compound every turn, and resolving this Lodestone to trade with the Death Shadow is probably my best bet. This is tough. This is really tough. I think I attack. Really with the 5 power Death Shadow being the critical turning point here. We go up to 19, we'll take 4 going to 15. We'd really like to top deck a Soul Land at this point so we can jam out our Lodestone Golem. Losing this Steel Overseer was really unfortunate. Anything my opponent plays here can't be good for us. Yeah. Wasteland, we can't use it yet. Actually, we will use it, but not for... We're going to use it to play a Chalice on 1. And hopefully, so we're going to take 9 this turn. It's gonna hurt. But there's not much we can do about it. Our opponent might crack this fetch to increase our damage. They're out of Shocklands, so they can only do that. But that's why I didn't attack, because now this is a 5 power Death Shadow. If we draw land, we could have been okay. We didn't, so we lose. Let's see what game 2 has in store for us. So fortunately, we've got a quartet of Ratchet Bombs to bring in, and Umezawa's Jitte. Warping Wails only hit unflipped Delvers. They don't hit Death Shadows for the most part. They don't hit Gurmag Anglers. Karns are okay. They're hard to resolve, but the walls that they create are pretty nice. Phyrexian Revoker doesn't do much. It names stuff like Leyline the Last Hope out of the sideboard, but we have more effective ways of actually dealing with that. Between our Thorns and our everything, Lodestone Golems, Karns are kind of hard to cast, especially with their mana denial plan, stubborn denials, dazes. So these cards are the easiest to take out. We've got to cut 1 more if we intend to bring in all 5 of these. Lodestone Golems are really good in this matchup because our opponent doesn't have Bolt, so it's not like the 3 toughness matters much, but the 5 power trades with Gurmag Angler, which makes it super relevant. So let's cut these guys. Let's actually cut the Jitte as well. I think that just going on the 4 Ratchet Bomb plan is probably our best bet. To connect with the Jitte, we have to invest 4 mana and have the creature not get removed and be attacking, which are all kind of big asks sometimes. Okay, so this hand doesn't have fast mana, but it does have a turn 1 Vault Skirge into a turn 2 Arcbound Ravager. It's relatively resilient. It's got a bunch of Wastelands. I'm going to keep it. This is probably among the weaker keeps, but what you gonna do? If our opponent goes land, cantrip, shuffle, then we're gonna waste him. And Thoughtseize, okay, so they're likely going to take our Arcbound Ravager. If they take our Lodestone, we jam the Ravager. If they don't take our Lodestone, great. This is also another reason we kept 7. The more you mulligan, the weaker you are to hand disruption spells because the fewer resources you're actually on. So they took the Ravager. We're going to nuke this Underground Sea and crash in for 1. Especially now that we drew a second Vault Skirge. So we'll be at 17, our opponent will be at 16 once this little combat happens. It's worth noting that we no longer actually have the mana to cast the Lodestone. We'll have to draw mana off the top, but we've got a lot of it, so should be okay. I think this is our opponent's last land, and since they know about the second Wasteland, they're just holding on. This is a great draw. Ravager off the top makes us pretty removal proof. If they want to remove something profitably, they have to do it now. They're thinking about it. It's also very possible they have a daze, and they're debating between whether or not they want to fetch shock themselves down to 13, and then I'll attack them to 11. There's a lot of math going on here between our life total, our opponent's life total, all sorts of things. We're going to attack. We're not going to win this game without putting our opponent to 0. Arcbound Ravager can put in some surprise damage, so our opponent really has to temper what they do. Wasteland from our opponent. Neither of our lands right now can be wastelanded. Looks like our opponent's got something going on. Ratchet Bomb themselves, okay. So that's going to go for 2. Yikes. Okay, so I think my first plan here is I'm going to wasteland the blue source, then jam a Thorn. Yeah, wasteland the blue source. Jam this Thorn into play. We're playing right into this Ratchet Bomb, obviously. Yeah, they have to force it. Okay. So they take 3 this turn. Ratchet Bomb takes up to 1. Okay, they have another fetch land. Choose not to use anything about it. Factory was a fantastic draw. When they inevitably pop the Ratchet Bomb, we can throw all the counters there. Unfortunately, they can wasteland it. So maybe it wasn't quite as fantastic as I just implied. But no reason not to keep crashing in. So, unfortunately, these little guys are not long for this world. So, Ratchet Bomb's popped. I'm going to animate this. I'm going to basically force the play of them using the Wasteland. I don't want them to be able to hold on to it for later. They might Wasteland me in response. That's okay. Okay, so now these things die. It's pretty rough, but what you gonna do? If this is a huge death shadow like a 10-10, then we're in trouble. Which it is, naturally. Soul Land. Nope. Lodestone Golem. Okay, so we're gonna take 10. Potentially take 11 here if our opponent fetches. Okay, so our own Ratchet Bomb is nice, if it resolves. It does, that's fortunate. It means that what can happen here is we can go to 3. We'll go to 2, as the case may be, with this Ratchet Bomb. It means that Ancient Tomb is not a live draw anymore, in terms of actually resolving these Lodestone Golems. But what you gonna do? So let's pop this. Get out of here. Boop. No point playing into Stifle or something like that. It's unlikely that our opponent has that kind of card, especially after they just hymned us, but better safe than sorry. Looks like we're going to be doing a little bit of a staring contest. I'm casting these Lotus Petals because I don't want them discarded. Granted, our opponent can't Thoughtseize, but they can hymn, and they've shown that they have hymns. Hoi. Okay, so Walking Ballista off the top does it as long as they don't have days. Chalice does not do it. Good games.